So we're talking about focusing on the new, right? And the reason we're talking about focusing on the new is because God is getting ready to do something new. And why that's important is if you don't focus on where God is going, you're going to get left behind where he was. Let me say that again. If you don't focus on where God is going, you're going to get left behind where he was. And what it's talking about, as I have here, the definition of new is not existing before, made, introduced, discovered. What is happening now for you is you've not really been this way before. Because if it's new, you're not going to fully understand it because you're going to like, this doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because it's new. So if you try and bring the old stuff into the new stuff, you're going to get frustrated. Because you're going to be looking for stuff to be a certain way, and he's like, I'm not doing that anymore. What if God is getting ready to do something completely different in your life? Are you going to move with him? Are you going to be like, nah, I'm staying right here? See, the other thing about this is the definition of focus is the center of interest or activity. I need to focus all of my activity to where God is going and what God is doing in my life. Some of you have been breaking off some old relationships because you're like, you know that's not the right one. Now, if you already got a ring on it, just hold on before you get up and start moving to the other side of the church. I always knew. No, don't do that. But God is doing something new, so you have to focus on it. But the other thing is, here's what it says in Isaiah 43. It says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. This morning, what God was doing, he was wiping some stuff off of us. As a ministry, as individuals, as families, over your teenagers. I'm telling you, he was like, forget that stuff. Forget folks that thought you weren't good enough. Forget people who wrote you off. I ran into somebody who knew me when I was probably like, 10 or 11, and I had done something super duper stupid. They saw me when I was in my 20s, and they were expecting me to still be that person. I was like, yeah, man, did this 30 years ago. But you got stuck with Chris this age. I'm over here now. Some people don't understand you're over here now. They're trying to talk about, you're like, I don't do that. I'm not there anymore. I don't live there. Forget the former things. Do not dwell. Do not dwell. Do not dwell. Don't keep thinking about your past. Stop yourself. As soon as you start getting stuck, okay, what am I doing? I'm thinking over that. I'm thinking over that. Go do something else. But he says, see, I am doing a new thing. What God is saying this morning, see, open your eyes physically and spiritually. He's doing something new. Now it springs up. It's not going to happen next week. I'm telling you, God is doing a new thing in your life right now. But do you not perceive it? Are you not catching it? Are you not recognizing, like, this is something new? Because he says, I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. What that means is for those of you who are like, but I'm in a desert. Stuff's not working out right now for me. What he is saying to you is, I will bring water to you in the desert. He says, I will make a way. Waymaker, miracle worker, prom. He said, I will make a way. So what are you worried about? Why are you tripping? He says, listen, stop tripping. I will make a way. I'll make a way. I'll make a way. So today we're talking about to focus on the new, but the subset of that is when it's too good to be true. I need you to recognize what God is getting ready to do for some of you, it's going to sound too good to be true. And you're going to have to make a decision in that moment like how? You mean, so I'm going to tell you a quick story. There was a town a long time ago, but the town had started losing money. Their industry had dried up, and basically everybody was in poverty. So they were having this big meeting, a town hall meeting, and almost everybody in the city or the town was there. So I think the mayor of the town was up talking. They had their board up, and they were doing all this stuff. And they were talking about all the problems. And then this really well-dressed man came in, kind of sat down, and he raised his hand. And they said, not right now, sir, if you can put your hand down. So he put his hand down. They kept talking about the problems and what was going on in the city, The man raised his hand a few more times. Every time he raised his hand, they were like, just a moment, we'll get to you. So after a little while, the man got up and left. Well, about 20 minutes later, another man come running into the room out of breath. He was like, hey, did he come? And the whole board and the mayor and all the people were like, who? Rockefeller. Now, if you don't know who Rockefeller is, in those days, Rockefeller was the wealthiest family in one of the wealthiest families in the entire world, but definitely in the Americas. And this man who lived in the city had gone to New York and found him and had told him what was going on. And Rockefeller himself came to the town to help. But they were so busy talking about the problems of their current and past, they could not see that God had sent someone to break it and bring them into a future. What I'm getting ready to talk to you about is God is getting ready to come into your life and sit down, and he's going to raise his hand and say, I've got something to tell you, and you're going to have to say, yes, let him get the mic, or would you, Jesus? If you would just sit down, you're always talking to folks. You're always getting carried away. So what I'm getting ready to preach to you is a challenge, because you're going to have a choice. You're going to be like, nah, you know, they be reaching that Family Life Center. I mean, they got this faith stuff on lock. I mean, it is out there. Or you're going to be like, man, I get that. I'm taking it. So here's the situation. So in 2 Kings, this is what's going on. There is a king. And basically, in the Bible, there's all kind of wars, just like now. But kings were always trying to take over kings and kingdoms. So here's what happened. And I don't have time to go before this. The reason it says sometime later is because some stuff happened before this. But it says sometime later, however, King Benhadad of Aram mustered his entire army and besieged Samaria. Besieged means when you surround something. So Samaria is here, a kingdom with people. And then this king, Benhadad, he comes and he surrounds the kingdom. So all of the people of Samaria are stuck inside their own kingdom. As a result of this kingdom surrounding this kingdom, it says as a result, there was a great famine in the city. You know why? Because people couldn't go out and get food. They couldn't go to the fields, and nobody could bring food in. So the siege, the surrounding, lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver and a cup of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. Dove's dung is boo-boo. How hungry are you? Not only that you're willing to eat the boo-boo, but you're going to pay for the boo-boo. Now, I culture, somebody like, you don't know that dung when we do it right. Don't bring it to me. Don't. If you're saying, Pastor, dung's all right, you keep it at your house. Anyway, the famine was lasting so long that they're running out of food that all of a sudden, people are trying to buy the head of a donkey. Donkey's not what you eat. But I need you to get a grasp of how bad the situation was. Not only was that happening, one day as the king of Israel in Samaria was walking on the wall of the city, a woman called to him. So he's walking on the wall, and he's in here. He's in the middle of this famine, and this woman calls out to him. He goes, King, 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 help me, my lord, the king. The king is up on the wall. He answers, if the Lord doesn't help you, what can I do? Let me tell you something. Stop worrying your leaders. Pastor, what am I going to do? Pray just like I'm going to pray. So he says, if the Lord doesn't help you, what can I do? He says, listen, I'm up here starving just like you. He says, I have neither food from the threshing floor nor wine from the press to give you. Boo-boo, my cabinet is empty just like yours. But now watch this. But then the king asked, what is the matter? And she replied, this woman right here said to me, come on, let's eat your son today. Then we'll eat my son tomorrow. So we cooked my son, king, and ate him. Then the next day, I said to her, okay, let's kill your son so we can eat him. But she has hidden her son, king. When the king heard this, he tore his clothes. In the Bible days, when you ripped your clothes up, it was a way to demonstrate how frustrated you were. And as the king walked along the wall, the people could see that he was wearing burlap. Burlap is a very itchy fabric. And they put it next to their skin because they didn't want to be comfortable in times when it was rough. It was a reminder to say, you are dealing with some stuff. But can I go back to a second? Why are we acting like it's normal to eat people's babies? She's not arguing over the fact that we shouldn't have to be eating kids. She's arguing over the fact it's time to eat her son. I was thinking about this last night. You know what I think is happening? We're giving up a generation because we're hungry. We're so hungry for success and so hungry for likes and so hungry for people following us. We will give up a generation and eat the children. And give up on my child and eat your child too, because that's what we need to do, because there's a famine of righteousness. There's a famine of hope. There's a famine of joy. There's a famine of peace. So the king is sitting on the wall, and he's looking at these two women, and he's sitting in leadership, and he's like, what kind of leader am I that my people are eating their children? And then out of the frustration, the king says, may God strike me and even kill me if I don't separate Elisha's head from his shoulders this very day. Because Elisha was the king's priest. So the priest has been telling him, here's what God is saying, here's what God is doing, this is why we have a famine, da-da-da. And the king is now frustrated. And then Elisha was sitting in his house with the elders of it. So the king is having this conversation on the wall. He's like, y'all, let's go kill Elisha. I'm so frustrated. Let's take his head off his shoulders. While that's happening, it says Elisha's sitting in his house with the elders of Israel. And when the king sent a messenger to summon him, but before the message even arrived to Elisha, Elisha's sitting there with his friends, and he heard something. And he said to the elders, you know what? A murderer has been sent to cut off my head. Y'all better be listening to Jesus. Y'all better you better pay attention when God's saying some stuff. He in there playing spades. Wait, hold up. What happened? Somebody's trying to come get me. And when he arrives, like he says, this murderer is coming to get me. He said, when he arrives, y'all shut the door and keep him out. We will soon hear his master's steps following him. He was like, yeah, this man's trying to come kill me, but the king gonna come in a minute. So while Elisha was still saying these words, while he was saying this message, the messenger arrived, and the king said, he's outside the house now, yelling at Elisha. He says, all this misery is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer? Which means he had told him, wait on God. I've come to tell some of you who are frustrated and get ready to go cut somebody's head off their shoulders. Stop it. God is saying, wait a little bit. I'm on my way. I got some plans. You got to trust me. So the king says, why should I wait for the Lord any longer? And then Elisha, when I get to heaven, I'm going to be serious. I'm going to be like, Elisha, give me some. Give me, like, where I grew up, if you do this dance with one hand on the side, if you do like this, give me some. That means you was a bad boy. Because I just want to be like, you was something else, because you was talking to kings like, what? So Elisha's got a murderer trying to kill him, and he doing this. Put that down. Stop playing. Stop. Put that little knife up. Anyway, king, let me tell you something. This is what he says. Listen to this message from the Lord, says Elisha. This is what the Lord says. By this time tomorrow, in the markets of Samaria, where we've been in famine, where there's no food left, where we're eating dove's dung, this time tomorrow, in 24 hours, this marketplace is going to be full of flour. And it's going to be so much, it's going to be cheap. You're going to be able to buy it for 1 piece of silver. Wait a minute, I'm buying a donkey's head for 18 pieces. But by tomorrow, he says a choice of flour will cost only 1 piece of silver, and 12 quarts of barley grain will cost only 1 piece of silver. What he said is by this time tomorrow, you can go to Mercedes-Benz and be like, I got $1.50. Let me get the 300. That sounds crazy, right? So he says this, and he says, that's what's going to happen, king. Now, the king is there. The murderers are there. The Israelites, the elders are there. But Elisha's talking boldly. This time tomorrow, this stuff's over. You want to cut my head off? Watch what my God can do. God will protect you so much. He will change everything that's going on in a community for people to see, nah, God with that, bruh. He goes, that's what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, while he was talking, the king had his people. And the Bible says there was an officer who was assisting the king, like his right hand. So while Elisha's saying this time tomorrow, this is going to happen, and all this is going to be over, and there's going to be plenty, and it's going to be cheap. And the king is standing there listening. But his officer off to his right side says, the officer assisting the king said to the man of God, man, that couldn't happen if God himself, if the Lord opened up the windows of heaven. Elisha wasn't tripping. Elisha says, okay, you will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it. I need you to understand we're getting into a time where the word that is going to come from this pulpit is going to be very bold. And what you're going to have to do is make a decision. Are you with us or against us? When we start saying, hey, we're going to believe God that this is going to happen in this city, or we believe God this is going to happen in every family that's connected to this church, I need you to make a decision to say, Pastor, you're right, let's go. I'm with you. The reason we can't move forward sometimes is we're too busy pulling each other down. They always at FLC talking about what they going to do. Let me tell you something. There's a seat right out here. Boop. Let me escort you to your chair in your car on your way out. Pray for me, because that's when Pastor Jori gives me signals. Stop it. Okay, so the officer said this. And Elisha said, listen, tomorrow you're going to see it, but you can't touch it. So then it says, focus on the new. Focus on the new. So while Elisha is doing this prophecy to the king, somewhere else in the same kingdom are 4 lepers. What you have to understand about leprosy is a skin-eating disease that's very contagious. If it touches you, get around you, it gets on you, and it starts eating your flesh. So when you had leprosy, your family had to take you and literally put you out and cast you out of the city. So lepers are always somewhere else, not with everyone. But if the king don't have no food, who you think definitely don't have no food? Them lepers, you hungry, but they hungry. They have no access. So it says, now there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates because they couldn't go in. And one of them said to the other 3, why should we sit here waiting to die? They asked each other. We will starve if we stay here, but with the famine in the city, we will starve if we go back there. Basically, where I am is bad, and if I try and go back, let me listen what I'm telling you. For those of you who are saying, well, I might go back, I'm telling you, back is not better. They said, listen, we don't have no food here, and if we go back over there, they're starving too. So here's what the leper said. We might as well. I often think, I'm going to leave it alone, but I think who wrote this Bible. Anyway, so we might as well go out and surrender to the army. If they let us live, so much the better. But if they kill us, we would have died anyway. Have you ever been in a situation where it don't really matter? This is bad, it don't matter. I ain't got nothing to lose. So the 4 lepers are talking, and they're like, So then it says, so they got up at twilight, which is in between, right before the sun's coming up, and they set out for the camp of the Arameans. But when they came to the edge of the camp, so now you got to understand, their leprosy, the 4 of them get up and they start walking towards their enemy. And as they're walking towards the enemy, they got to the camp, to the edge of it, getting ready to surrender. Here we are, take us, lock us up, let us be your prisoner. Maybe you can give us something to eat. Maybe you could be kind on us. Hello, come get us. We're here. We're surrendering to you. Here's what it says happened. Let me give you a tip. What if the enemy you've been scared of isn't even there when you arrive? What if the very thing you're scared of? I can't apply for that job. I can't go to that school. I can't do this thing at work. I can't do this in my community because you're scared. But what if you get there and there is no enemy? Anybody ever heard a noise in the house? You heard one of these? And then you go walking around the house. Hey! Y'all do that too. You do that. You do that thing where you yell, hey! Hey! I don't know what that is. And then you get there and you see something that's falling off the counter, and then you all back, and it was the broom. Jori, it was the broom. How many of you scared of stuff that's not even there? It says, but when they came to the edge of the camp, no one was there. Hey, we're here to surrender. We're here. No one was there. Well, what happened? It says this, for when they started walking, the Lord had caused the Aramean army to hear the clatter of speeding chariots and the galloping of horses and the sounds of a great army approaching. See, when 4 lepers got up walking, what God can do, I said, is anything impossible? When 4 of them start walking, just lepers, not the strongest, don't have anything with them, don't have no horses, don't have the education, don't have the degree, don't have the pedigree. But when they got up and started walking, it said, the Lord made the enemy hear like, they're coming. It said it's the galloping of horses and the sounds of great men. So the king of Israel, now listen what it says. The army over here, who has all of the strength, who has been surrounding this kingdom this whole time. It says they started saying to each other, the king of Israel has hired the Hittites and the Egyptians to attack us, they cried to one another. So they panicked and ran into the night, abandoning their tents, their horses, their donkeys, and all of their money and everything else. 4 lepers get to the city, get to the camp, and they have believed they got more with them. The Bible says there's more with us than there is with them. See, the problem you thought is you by yourself. The problem you thought online is you by yourself. You thought you had to do this with the bank. You thought you had to do this in the community. You thought you had to figure this out with your professor. No, baby. There's more with you. You've got an entire kingdom of God with you. So when they got there and they were looking around, the enemy started running off. Has anybody been running in a situation you dropped stuff because you were scared? I was dating this girl one time. We were in this situation. This really did happen. I was on a date downtown. Anybody remember the Skyway? Anybody grew up down here? So the Skyway is a movie theater downtown. And we went to see the movie Halloween. Why? I don't know. But we go see Halloween. Now understand this. I'm gonna make the screen be here so y'all can get an understanding what happened. So we are watching the movie. It's about 30 minutes, 40 minutes into the movie. So it's packed. Bunch of people. So we're about here. This situation is about to happen. It's about 5 rows in front of me. All of a sudden, we saw this. Now I'm back here. All I see is somebody standing up. And then they did like this. And they had on the Halloween guy's costume. When that happened, the entire theater went like, folks would, now I'm not saying I knocked my date in the head, but she did fall to the ground. I was like this, you should have ran when you saw it. I don't know what you was doing. People were jumping over the seats, running out, and the guy didn't do nothing. All he did was turn real slow and stand there. But anybody seen Halloween? Bruh, when I say I was out like boo, 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 boo. Nobody moved back to their seats for a good 5 minutes. Everybody was on the walls like this. Now why we were doing this? We were doing this. Just in case he moved. Have you ever been so scared you'd be like, I gotta stay ready, whatever. We were jumping and running. So what happened to these guys, they thought they saw, it's not Jason, what's his name? Michael. See, y'all need Jesus. Do you know Michael the Archangel? That's what I want to know. They panicked. Because when that happened, the reason I brought that up, she dropped her purse. And we were over here. She was like, Chris, my purse is over there. I said, it's staying over there. I'm just being real. So she panicked and dropped it. That's what happened to these guys. They panicked and they were like, they're coming to kill us. Dropped all their good stuff. Now here are 4 lepers, diseased, forgotten, left out to die, are now inside this camp looking around. And it says when the lepers, arrived at the edge of the camp, they went into one tent, got some money, got some food, was eating and drinking wine, leave it there, and they carried off silver and gold and clothing and hid it. So they go in one tent, they take it and they run out, they hide it. Let's go again, let's go back. So they started doing this multiple times, as it says, and they carried off silver and gold and clothing and hid it. But finally, they started saying to each other, this isn't right. Now, I always tell people, who are you in the story? Are you the leper? Are you the king? Are you Elisha? Are you the man saying this will never happen? Who are you in the story? So one of the lepers finds out, hold on. We've been eating this food and running out and hiding it. This isn't right. This is a day of good news. And we aren't sharing it with anyone? When God blesses you, are you willing to even share it? Well, I would give them a ride, but they got kids. I got these nice seats now in this car. I gave him some money 2 months ago to get him something to eat. I'm not doing it this week. This is a day of good news, and we're out here, we're not sharing it with anyone. And then one of them said, listen, if we wait until morning, some calamity will certainly fall upon us. When God has put you in the position to be the bridge to bring somebody out of bondage, and you don't take the opportunity, God will figure another way to make it happen, and you are held accountable for not doing what God asked you to do. The leper said, hey, if we wait until morning, something's going to happen to us. And he says, come on, let's go back and tell the people at the palace. So they get to this house together. The 4 lepers take some stuff. You know they took what they had, though. You know how you be like, let's go. But I'm taking what I got, though. I'm bringing this with me. So they went back to the city, and they told the gatekeepers, because remember, they couldn't go inside. So they're outside the gate. They're like, hey, gatekeeper, hey, listen what happened. We went out to the Armenian camp, and they said no one was there. Their horses, their donkeys were tethered, and the tents were all in order, but there wasn't a single person around. Good news. Go tell the king. They're not surrounding us anymore. They've left. Now, I don't have enough time to go into this, but they went back and forth, and the king was wondering about it. So if they finally woke the king up, the king got out of bed. Now, listen, if you're the king in this story, when God shows up to bring the victory, watch how you respond. You praying for rescue, he shows up, and you can't believe it. Remember, I told you this is too good to be true. The king got out of bed. They told him what happened. So they wake him up in the middle of the night. He goes, I know what happened. The Armenians now know we are starving. So they have left their camp and have hidden in the fields. They are expecting us to leave the city, and then they will take us alive and capture us. It's not that that doesn't make sense, but it doesn't make sense. Because God is doing something that doesn't make sense. What the king is saying, it makes sense. You got to watch yourself when God shows up that you don't bring your miracle down to something that makes sense. He said 24 hours ago, this time tomorrow, everything's going to change. Now the opportunity is getting ready to come. So the king's like, it can't be right. So then the king says, all right, y'all take a couple of horses. He said, take 2 chariots with horses. He were prepared, and the king sent 2 scouts out. And he said, all right, 2 of y'all go see if this is really happening. So the 2 of the men go, and they're on their horses, and they go check the camp because the lepers are still at the gate trying to tell everybody, I'm telling you, they're not there. Look at the gold. Look at the silver. Look at the food we got. So they went all the way to the Jordan River. So they come and they get to the camp and they're like, you're right, nobody's here. And then they went past the camp to see if maybe they were hiding in the woods. And it says, as they kept going, there was a trail of clothing, a trail of equipment that the Armenians had thrown away in their mad rush to escape. And the scouts returned back and they said, King, they're gone. There's plenty of food, and they left all their money and left all of their horses. He said, I'll do exceedingly and abundantly. They just wanted to eat. God has now brought them silver, gold, food, horses. Don't you put God in a box. I just want to get this job. No, baby, you want to run the company. I just want to move in the neighborhood. No, you want to build your own subdivision. I'm challenging you. So they came back and told him. So when the people of Samaria heard about the food, they were like, where does food where? Ray, come on. Come on, get Cletus in them. Come on, let's go first. Come on, you know when you've been at the picnic and they say the food's ready. Last week, 2 of y'all, I'm not even going to say who, y'all tripped that baby. We said the food's ready. That baby was walking like this in that diaper. Y'all said, I saw you. I ain't going to say you. That baby went like, I ain't going to bring it up. I had to baptize that child 9 times. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, baby. Then the people of Samaria rushed out, and they started running in these camps, and they was plundering. In our day and age, it would look like looting, but they weren't stealing because it belonged to them. Because God said, I'm already setting something up. You're not about to steal what belongs to you. You're taking back something that was taken. So they go out, and the people are running out and getting the food. And this is what it says. So it was true what the man of God had said the day before, that 6 quarts of choice flour were sold that day for 1 piece. They had so much when they got back into the house, into their own area, they were like, man, just give me a penny. Go ahead, take it. Now, I got 16 Mercedes. Give me $5. Give me $5 right now. You got yours. Take it. He said there was so much. The 6 quarts of choice flour were sold that day for 1 piece of silver, and 12 quarts of barley grain were sold for 1 piece of silver, just as the Lord had promised. The king appointed his officer. Remember the dude the day before? That can't happen. That can't happen. If God opened heaven and stuff, man, that can't happen, Elijah. You up here. Why are you lying to the people? So the king the next day is like, wait, oh my gosh. So much is happening. Hey, go stand by the gate and help out. And it says the king appointed his officer to control the traffic. Hey, y'all, slow down. Get in line. Let's be orderly. But he was knocked down and trampled to death as the people rushed out. You know how hard you got to be on the ground and how long to be trampled to death? Do not speak against what God is getting ready to do. Don't open your mouth against this church, not because of me, but what God is getting ready to do. I don't know if we can do that at FLC. I'm going to get out your way. Get him. He was trampled to death. So everything happened exactly as the man of God had predicted. And when the king came to his house, so the man of God had said to the king, by this time tomorrow, in the markets of Samaria, 6 quarts of choice flour will cost 1 piece of silver, and 12 quarts of barley will only cost 1 piece of silver. My question to you is this. What is God saying can happen to you in 24 hours? And right there, you can say, that can never happen. You saying I can go to work tomorrow and get promoted. How dare you put God in a box? Which one you want to be? Do you want to be the person getting trampled to death? Or do you want to be the person celebrating what God has said will be done? What I've come this morning to challenge you to do is shut your mouth, lift your hands, and say, God, whatever you want to do, however you want to bring me rescue, however you want to save my family, however you want to heal my body, however you want to bring that money back in my hand, however you want to change my boss, however you want to grow my business, I'm going to shut my mouth and say, God can do anything but fail me. In 24 hours, he can do anything. 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 And I'm telling you, you're going to have dreams. You're going to have thoughts. You're going to hear words. You're going to hear songs. And your head's going to go somewhere. And you're going to be like, that is too good to be true. It's not too good to be true. It's too good not to be true. He says, I'm not a man that I would lie. I'm not the son of man that I would change my mind. What he's saying is, I'm not a liar. He's like, I don't have the ability to lie. God doesn't have the ability to sin. It's not in him. It's not who he is. It's not in his nature. He can't do it to you. But the devil can lie to you, and he can make you think this is not going to work out. Tell somebody it's not too good to be true. Tell somebody else it's not too good to be true. Say, I know God is getting ready to do something that is going to change my life, and everybody around me is going to see it. Come on, give God some praise if you got something out the word today.